Hi, today I'm with Hunter Young, who is one of 5 candidates for 3 spots on the Plymouth School Committee. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. We're going to dive right into our questions.
Sounds good.
All right. Let's talk about the $119 million budget that was passed at town meeting will fund the department at the current level. It does not include any pay raises that are negotiated with school unions, and more are going to have to be requested in the fall. How do you determine your budget priorities given the mandates that you have no control over, the undetermined pay raises that you don't know what they're going to be, and the state funding that is yet to be finalized?
Yeah. So it's been tough with with inflation and everything, the things that have to go up. I think that one of the things is that the teachers' salaries cannot be cut, and we can't cut teachers. I think that would be my main goal, is to be like, teachers are the most important part of education. Mm-hmm. Whatever we do with the budget cuts, one of my focus is being more fiscally responsible. I think there are a few ways that we can look to cut the budget, but I would say teachers need raises. They're getting paid lower compared to other towns, mm-hmm. and I think that we need to really focus on how we can take care of our teachers and our other staff that we have, the custodians and all those things. Mm-hmm.
So when you say and cut other things, how would you prioritizing what you cut?
Yeah, so I would say as far away as impacting education, the education of the student as possible, so you look at things like transportation, mm-hmm. and transportation is really the biggest one that I've been trying to focus on. Maybe if we can find a way to make the bus routes more efficient. Mm-hmm. You look and you see some of the buses can be half empty sometimes, and maybe if we can find a way where we can have more bus stops or something like that. So those are kind of the ways that I'm looking at to try to solve that issue because that's not something that would directly affect the education of the students. So
are the buses though based on, I believe it has to be based on where the students are going to school, and it's such a large area?
I know. Yeah, we have a big town.
Yeah,
so
that's going to be a tough one.
I'm sure they've looked at it before, but I can be a fresh set of eyes to the board hopefully and see, hey, look at that. Oh, we never saw that, and maybe I can do that. So.
Okay. Do you have any experience with budgets?
I've made my own budget.
Okay.
I listened to a guy, Dave Ramsey, mm-hmm. and if anybody knows who that is, and I'm big on budgeting, living within your means, mm-hmm. and the principles that apply to a $1,000 a month budget still apply to a $120 million budget. I know there's more difficulties mm-hmm. in the public sector,
right.
but I think that the same principles of living within your means and trying to work with what you have
right.
is important.
Now, what about the state mandates? There's mandates that are unpaid.
Right.
So how would you address that? Because it's a problem for all of the towns in Massachusetts.
Yeah, I think, we can look at ways to try to get more money from the state, obviously, and with the budget shortfalls at the state level, I think that's going to be tough, and we might even be getting cuts from the state they're talking about. So I would say that you have the English language learners, that's one of the biggest mandates. So honestly, it's really just tough. I don't know exactly how to deal with that because I'm just looking at ways, what can we control? Because obviously the things that we can't control, we can't control.
Right. So they have to be done.
Yeah.
So this would have to be everything else.
Exactly.
You'd have to take a look at. And you do line by line?
Yeah. Well, certain budgets, they have the buckets where, it's not an exact, like an every dollar mm-hmm. budget where, because things have to get moved around and, you can't plan for certain things like that. But it would be nice if we could have, more transparency with the line-by-line budgets.
Mm-hmm.
They already do a pretty good job in I've got my budget book right here. Mm-hmm. But I would look for more ways, hey, can we, we have this planned out so we know exactly where all the money is going.
Right.
So.
And do you feel that they're doing the best job they can with the information they have?
I think they're doing a solid job. I think we can always do better. And I think that would be something that I could add is, I haven't been on the board for a while.
Okay.
So I can add a fresh set of eyes again.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go to question number 2. What is your philosophy on special education? And what do you think it means for students to be supported in the least restrictive environment?
Right. And I think that, we need to, kids that need special education, I think we need to treat them as any other student and make them not feel left out as much as possible and have them integrated into the regular classes. And, obviously sometimes with people who have special needs, they need to be, set apart and have more time. But I would say, and sorry, what was the second part of the question? It was...
What do you think it means for students to be supported in the least restrictive environment, which is kind of the philosophy behind the Plymouth school system?
Yeah. So I would say, allowing those kids to express themselves. I mean, I've had such great experiences with some of the kids, and the programs where they have them play basketball and all those things, and to see the school really get behind those kids that need help. And I think that having it be where we can be a community of students, and that all the students can feel like, hey, these aren't a segregated group of kids. They're just like everybody else, and I think that's important because I just got out of school. Bullying is an issue, and I think that finding ways where we can really emphasis on community and unity and being together, I think that's a big thing.
Now, you said you just got out of school, meaning what?
I just graduated from high school from last year, so 2023.
Okay.
So
Okay, so you're a recent graduate.
Yes.
You were a recent student in a high school environment.
Exactly.
Okay, and did you go to Plymouth schools?
Yes, I went to Plymouth South, and then the last year and a half, I was struggling a bit, so I did a homeschool co-op kind of situation.
Okay. So when you were talking about special education, there's an awful lot of students that are on IEPs.
Yes.
More than ever.
Yeah.
And that can be for a variety of reasons. Now, do you think that is now the norm, that more and more students will be on IEPs, and therefore there'll be more and more of a need for a larger budget for special ed?
I think that could be a thing. After COVID, the anxiety issue, and even me, I could have been on an IEP for anxiety. And I think we see, with anxiety and depression, the rates are skyrocketing for all generations. And I think a big part of that, we have social media, we have all these things that, you're able to see all kinds of things that you wouldn't have ordinarily been able to see. So I would say that is going to be a challenge. And, obviously, I needed extra help. And I would say, well, the budget is tight, so it's hard to find ways to do that. But if we can find ways that are, that don't cost money, having community, talking to each other, and encouraging more groups after school, certain kinds of things, and ending the stigma around those things. There was, I was watching one of the other school committee meetings. There was like the Yellow Tulip project, I think it was, where the students they planted the tulips in the garden, and then there was a lesson about it, about how it grows, and even though it grows in the dark, it sprouts up and it becomes something that's great and shining. So I think obviously being a teenager is difficult.
Yeah.
And I think that in just any age of life, and I think that we need to find ways. I think it's not always about spending more money. I think it's about building community, and I think that's something that we've lost a little bit in our culture today.
And I understand your point of view on that exactly. But when it comes back, I want to circle back to special education. There are mandates by the state. English as a second language is a perfect example. It's the students that need English as a second language have to be supported, and those aren't the kinds of things that you can just cut.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
For sure.
And they might be in different locations. They might be in one of 12 schools that are in Plymouth. So do you have any vision for how all of special ed can be supported more on a global level by the state? Or do you think that's something that needs to be worked on?
Yeah, I think if the state has a mandate on something, I think they should be supporting the local school system. So I think I would look for ways. I know that we deal with the state, the boards and things like that, and I think that would be something that the state needs to be better at supporting the schools, because it's difficult. The influx, it's gone up, even in just the last 5 years, and that's not something that's easy for the teachers to adjust to. And so I would say, yes, we need to look for more support from the state, and we need to find ways, again, if we can have volunteers, or even if a teacher can learn a second language themselves in a regular class, they can get on a online course or something that's very cheap and inexpensive. Just finding ways like that with technology today. There's a lot of ways I think we can utilize that.
Okay. Alrighty, we're going to go into question number 3. There are often two very different sides to subject matters that can come before the school board or the school committee. How do you navigate your personal opinions in regards to complex issues?
Yeah, Yeah, so I would say a personal political agenda of a school board member should have no say over this is an apolitical position. It should have no say over what you decide curriculum-wise. So for me, I have my personal political biases, we all do, but I would say what is best, what do the professionals say, and what is going to be best for the students, what is true, what is based on, fact, math is math, history is history, and I know that there's some debates over that, but I would say let's keep the agendas out as much as possible and just keep the focus on the truth and the facts of the matter. So.
And sometimes people have different views of the facts.
Yes. This is true. So and again, that's something we need to talk about it. We need to have both sides come up and even if too, like we could have even a debate in school over these kinds of things in like a public kind of forum thing, especially for the older kids. We can be like, hey, there's two sides to this issue. This hasn't been decided yet. A debater comes from this point of view. A debater comes from that point of view, and you're like, let the students decide their opinion.
And the school committee itself, there's 5 members of the school committee, and you work together on lots of major issues, and then there's subcommittees within the school committee. Is there any specific area within the schools that you would like to concentrate on, that you'd like to hone your attention on?
Yeah, I would say one of my points is making well-rounded students. So I would say an area of the trade schools. We have great trade schools in Plymouth. I was able to see it. That building is amazing. They did a great job with it. So I want to encourage kids more that there are other options outside of college. I think especially I just heard on the news this morning, $217,000 is the average cost for a four-year degree.
Yeah.
And I think that, college obviously isn't bad, but I think it's not for everyone. And I think especially when we have the trade schools, we can say, hey, you have a great opportunity. You can make 6 figures in 4 years in Massachusetts if you enter this trade and go this way. So that's one thing that I'm really passionate about, is finding other, and especially in my own life, I haven't made my decision on exactly what I want to do in terms of college or trades or whatever.
Right.
So I would say, let's hammer that. Let's not look down upon kids who don't decide to go to college.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, and I don't think that's even an issue. I mean, that's changed so much over the past decade.
Yeah.
The certificate programs, things like that are replacing 2- and 4-year colleges for a lot of kids.
For sure.
So let's talk about what you think Plymouth Public Schools' greatest strengths are. What does the school system do really well?
Yeah. Obviously, it would be easy to say the trades after we just talked about that.
Yeah.
But I think, honestly, just adapting to different issues. I think we did, in terms of COVID, we handled it relatively well. I know there was a lot of difficulties, but I think, honestly, the people that are on the board, whether I disagree with them on certain things or not, I think they have done a great job. And I think our teachers, growing up through the schools, the teachers were amazing. Like they went overtime, they worked as much as they could. And I can't say I had a bad experience with any of the teachers necessarily.
Okay, so the staff.
Yes, the staff is, and I think overall, just in education in general, that is where the rubber meets the road. Whether you have good teachers or bad teachers, you can spend all this money, but if the teachers aren't into it, and I think that even with not making as much money as some of the other towns around, they've done a great job. So.
What do you think makes a really excellent teacher?
Yeah, I think being able to keep students engaged is a great, you can get all this education, you can have experience, but I don't think that exactly is what makes a good teacher. Even in being able to adapt too is, so it's a bunch of different things, but keeping students engaged, and especially today with the way technology is, being able to adapt to that. And that's why I would, one thing, helping older teachers to adapt to the technology, because that's just the way kids are. I grew up, I had a phone when I was 8 years old.
Right.
And, and that's their focus. And so then that's the way we learn. So I think that teachers that are able to keep students engaged and adapt, especially in today's environment, is what makes a great teacher.
Great. Okay. And what would you say Plymouth really needs to work on? Something that they don't do well as a school system in general? Yeah,
I think it would be nice if we could build community between the schools more. So we have a lot of elementary schools. I think it might be like 8 or something. And all those students, we never really were able to interact with the other schools. And I think that would be something that was cool. That would be cool if we could incorporate that. I was in elementary school 10 years ago. but I think that, we have a very diverse community. Cold Spring and Hedge are different from South Elementary or Manomet Elementary.
Sure, right.
So if we can get kids talking to each other, and again, I hammered the point before, but building community, if we can build community better. I think that's just one thing in our culture in general. We don't talk to each other enough. We don't spend time with each other enough. We kind of focus.
Face-to-face,
Yeah, exactly, face to face. So I would say that's more of a general kind of thing, but I would say, building community and making sure that students are.
Do you think the students overall feel like they are part of the Plymouth school environment?
Yeah, I would say many of them do, but I think there is. Obviously there can be cliques and things in high school and in school. This group has this group has that group, and I think finding ways to connect people who have different interests is what we need in our culture today and in our world.
Okay.
So.
And overall, if you had to give the schools a grade, F- being the absolute worst, A+ being the absolute best, right now, as you see it, how would you grade Plymouth Public Schools?
I would say I'd give it a B+. Okay. I think we're great. There's certain areas, our testing scores are kind of average. Our AP scores are great. We have a trade school that a lot of other schools don't have, and what that elevates above, from a C. If a C is average, that elevates us right there to a B. And so I would say there's always ways to improve, and I don't want to A+. Everything's great.
Yeah.
We do nothing wrong, or else I wouldn't be running. And I think that there's ways that I can, perspectives that I can add that would help maybe get to an A+, hopefully.
Okay. And then we're going to allow you to talk to the constituents about that right into the camera for up to 2 minutes, why they should vote for you for school committee.
Yeah, so my name is Hunter Young. I'm running for school committee. I'm running because I have a unique perspective that I think I can add to the board. I'm 18 years old. I'll be 19 by election day if that helps you want to vote for me. I might be a little bit more mature by then. And I think I can add a unique perspective because I grew up with a lot of experiences that the other generations in the school board might not have dealt with. We had COVID. I grew up, the iPhone came out in 2008. I was born in 2005. So I grew up with all of these things that have impacted our world, even in just the last 15 years, in a great way. And we need to learn how to adapt to those kinds of things, especially with COVID. There's been gaps in education that we need to find ways to bridge. And, if you're worried about my experience or my age, I'm going to work as hard as I can to get up to speed on the issues. I'm going to make this as much of a full-time job as I possibly can. I want to listen to the parents. I want to listen to what they have to say and make sure, that the parents' voices and the students' voices are heard together, and that we work together to, make our schools as good as they can possibly be. We already have a great school system, but I think with the help of the great staff that we have and bringing a young voice on the board, I hope that we can make it even better. So again, I'm Hunter Young. Saturday, May 18th is the elections, and thank you.
Thank you, Hunter. Thank you very much.
Thank
you.
We
wish you the best during the campaign and during the election season. And please do make your voices heard by voting on or before May 18th in the Plymouth Town election. Thank you and good day.